A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, it is a period of fantasy musical adventures that star global pop sensations as one half of a duo in an extremely complex and intense relationship with an otherworldly magic that defies all laws of logic and physics. Dare we even say gravity? Oh, and it's directed by Jim Henson and came out in the 1980s and was definitely responsible for jump-starting quite a few puberties. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed therein, including the David Bowie horniness, are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employers.
Hello there, and welcome back to 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. I'm your host, Sam Marchioni. Joining me today, Violet Floor.
Turn back, Sam. Turn back before it's too late.
One of my better thirds. I'm polyamorous, so one of my partners is here. This is B. Daye.
Hello.
And a preeminent Bowie scholar of the highest degree, Katie Duffy.
Okay, so if you want Bowie at his best, I would say that you want to look around 1977.
So 9 years later is what? Mildly aged Bowie?
Yeah, that's, we will get into that.
In our attempts to capitalize on the SEO that is Wicked and Wizard of Oz mania, we are doing the closest thing a degree one has to the Wizard of Oz. It's the 1986 cult classic, Labyrinth.
Ire, come on, buddy, where are you? I need the retelling breakdown for Labyrinth. Ire, please, I'm too sick for this.
Oh, Sam, look at what I can do.
Please don't let this be a piece of cake moment. Is this gonna be a repeat of Lugubrious Moat?
I do not understand the reference, but look, I can make my own glitter now.
Your own...
Doesn't it look just like the Goblin King's?
Is that more spice? I thought I found all of it.
Hondo made use of my special secret compartment while you and host Jasmine were on your smuggler's run.
No, we already cleared out your circuit panel. Twice.
Not that one, host Sam. I meant my other special secret compartment.
Is that a euphemism?
You haven't programmed me for that yet. It's still too soon for my puberty upgrade, at least according to host Jasmine.
Yeah, Faye has the right idea. You haven't even had your 3rd birthday yet. Now show me the secret compartment before your gears start rusting.
No.
Ire!
It's where I keep my 60 snacks. You know that host River and host Ellie have been giving me their local specialty flavors. It will take way too long to empty out all of them.
Don't make me wish for the goblins to come and take you away right now.
I believe the combination of iron and plastic in my components make me largely immune to Fey interference.
Listen, if you let me handle the rest of the spice and run the retelling connections, I will give you extra 60 snacks.
Throw in a season 2 of Visions patch and you've got yourself a deal.
Fine, you win. Now run it. Please!
Greetings! I am IER60, Star Wars Retelling Connections. Point of intersection found. This is a degree 1, produced by Lucasfilm and George Lucas. Additional source material found. This is a retelling of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll and The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum.
Is there anybody here who has not seen Labyrinth before we did it for this episode? I don't think so. We're all of a certain age.
Yeah, definitely.
I've seen it entirely too many times, including a show earlier this year, I think it was, or maybe sometime last year, where I saw it where the score was performed live.
Oh, I
amazing.
love those
Nice.
things.
Yeah, it was very, very cool.
Anytime you can go to a movie screening where it's like, we're performing the score live, it's like so cool.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw this movie would have been shortly after Bowie passed. They did a re-release in theaters in memoriam for him, and I got all dressed up, went to the theater, said I wanted to get a ticket for Labyrinth, and they said, I'm so sorry, that's next week. So I had dinner and then went back home, and then the next week got all dressed up, went to the theater. It was a wonderful time.
I was so worried you were about to say you went back to the theater and like, no, it's next week.
Yeah, I was living Groundhog Day.
That was a much better idea than what I did. So when Bowie passed away, I woke up and I saw it on my phone, and I was like, am I reading this wrong? No, there's no way. So I checked all my sources, and then I had the bright idea like a day or two later at work. Like, you know what? I don't know a lot of like Bowie's later stuff, but I don't, but like I don't want to like just jump into it. I want to, it's like the evolution of Bowie. And so I go, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen to Black Star, and then I'm going to listen to every Bowie album in chronological order over the course of a few days. And I got to Low. And after Low, I'm like, if I keep doing this, I am just going to be a sobbing wreck of a person at my desk. So I really need to stop.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I couldn't get through Black Star at work. I tried. I listened to like the first 4 songs, and I'm like, no, can't do it. Not today. I still can't do it. It's very hard for me to get through that album.
Yeah, because it sounds like a farewell.
I mean, I know that he died of liver cancer, and that is horrible and terrifying, but a small part of me is like, are we 100% sure he did not return to either the Fey realm or outer space?
Yeah.
Of course.
Also, congratulations, and absolutely nobody has done what I expected them to do.
Oh, do you want us to be horny about David Bowie, Sam?
That actually wasn't what I was thinking of, but I just assumed that we are always horny for David Bowie all the time, especially in this movie. And I'm not saying that David Bowie as Jareth in Labyrinth is the ancestor of Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm not saying it.
You can definitely track the inspiration.
Yeah.
David Bowie as Jareth, king of the pretty boys.
The thing that I was expecting all of us to do was a little something to do with You Remind Me of the Babe.
What babe?
Babe with the power.
What power?
There, I did it. I did the curse.
I'll pick it up.
Oh my god, we were all waiting for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great song. I'm wearing the black rimmed glasses, the unofficial symbol of music hipsterdom. But I'm surprised that more people don't give more credit to the title song, Going Underground. Like, when the opening credits play. I was listening to that song, and then I listened to like his work from Young Americans. I listened to, I was trying to get kind of a glimpse of his career kind of in the moments leading up to Labyrinth as far as his music. And like, that song it's more Young Americans than it is anything in the Berlin trilogy.
Yeah.
But like, that song, it's just like, I'm like, that's the distillation of that Blue-Eyed Soul sound that he was going with, and it's so good. I love that song. I also love the Trevor Jones score of this film, which sounds like it could have been something that Bowie and Brian Eno were doing in Berlin, but it's not. I will stop right there.
I'm happy to use the music as a way to dive into talking about the movie in general, because I think a lot of what it has to do with is narrative in one way or another. So part of the problem, I think, with the Underground title track is that it's not very visually interesting, and it's not very like entrenched within the movie. It's our opening credits song, it's our closing credits song, fine, cool, whatever. Magic Dance has that hilarious call and response and the visual of just David Bowie jamming out in a pack of goblins. As the World Falls Down unlocked something in a lot of young people.
Oh yes.
Within You has the trippy ass Escher. Within You is my favorite.
You want to talk about Berlin trilogy? Within You is like the most. That could have been an extra track on like a deluxe edition of Low or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah, for sure.
Chilly Down is also here.
Yeah, well, and Chilly Down was also written by Bowie, though he's not performing it.
I've heard people claim that he is one of the fiery voices.
I've heard that too.
It kind of sounds like it.
Also the guy who played Cat in Red Dwarf.
Yeah. I mean, I just got done watching it, like, not even like a few minutes ago, but I was listening to it, and it kind of sounds like you could hear him a little bit, but I'm not too sure.
I think what it is they're all doing that weird voice that that sounds proto Jar Jar Binksy. Like,
Mhm.
hey, her head don't come off.
Yeah.
I can't unhear that now.
I do think part of it could be, Bowie had recorded the demo for the song, and sometimes you will get folks where they are singing to match the demo, and so it's possible that the voices that they were using for the Fireys did result in more like Bowie impressions for how he was performing it. Like you see it with The Little Mermaid and how Pat Carroll as Ursula lowered her own register that way. She was able to sing the song that Howard Ashman had performed it on the demo because she loved that version of it so much.
Or if you've ever seen Vox Lux, Natalie Portman sounds a lot like she's just doing a Sia impression.
Oh, yeah.
We will talk about it one day. But for now, we're talking about Labyrinth. Labyrinth and its glittery teen girl isekai beauty.
There's so much glitter in this movie.
So much glitter.
I rewatched it, minutes before we sat down to record this, and there's still a lot that I do really love about this movie. I had watched it as a kid, and then I got back into it as a teen when I got really into David Bowie and had, kind of parasocial teen crush on David Bowie and was like, okay, I need to watch movies with him, and Labyrinth was a good one to do that with. And rewatching it, I was struck by the fact that I feel like I have outgrown the movie in a lot of ways. I think a lot of sequences do hold up, but the movie isn't necessarily for me anymore. And I think that's a really exciting thing because it is a movie about growing up and entering adulthood, the transition from childhood to adolescence.
Yeah, it definitely does reek of that. And I remember the way I got into Labyrinth was there was this comic on DeviantArt back when DeviantArt was not exclusively AI generated porn, and like you could actually have 13-year-olds on there and not feel weird about it. There used to be a comic called Roommates by an artist that went by the name Ash Rider. And the premise was that Jareth, the Phantom of the Opera, James Norrington from Pirates of the Caribbean, and Javert from Les Mis were all roommates.
Oh my God.
That's wow.
Actual roommates, not, oh my God, they were roommates. And
Sarah
Sarah and Christine were also living in the building, and they were roommates. Again, actual roommates. There's also a spin-off comic called Girls Next Door, which focuses on Sarah and Christine. And so I finally got into Labyrinth because of that, because I checked off Phantom, I checked off Pirates of the Caribbean, I checked off Les Mis. I'm like, okay, I should get into Labyrinth so I can understand these references. I got obsessed, and like my mom had 80s wardrobe stuff, and at the time my hair was very long, so a lot of people get into Labyrinth and they start fantasizing about David Bowie as Jareth and certain things. I went in a very literal direction of imagining Jareth as my daddy.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Back then I was young enough that I looked like I could have been the child of Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. There may or may not have been fanfic.
I love this. As a teen girl myself, I loved David Bowie, loved Labyrinth, and I never wrote fan fiction or anything, but I would, have those sort of daydreams, and I had, an original character, Do Not Steal, that was Jareth's daughter, and I, did some similar stuff with other, things that I was watching too young, and it was almost like these were characters that I thought were attractive, but I wasn't interested in their movie love interests, and I wasn't interested in creating a character to ship with them. It was somehow safer to just give them a child. So a very teen girl response to encountering a beautiful man.
Hey, Spider-Man pointing meme.
So I hate to do this because it's going to out my elder millennial status, but I think I might be the oldest person here currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my experience was a little bit different. I did not see the movie when it came out in theaters because it came out in
86.
So I was 5 years old at the time, and I was probably possibly slightly too young. But I grew up in love with fairy tales. Somewhere, I think I still have it, a book that might have belonged to my mom or my dad. So grew up loving stories, fairy tales, enchanted by illustrations by Brian Froud, who did the art design for this movie.
And contributed the baby.
Yes, and contributed the baby. Watched a lot of Nickelodeon. A lot of times they were importing shows because at the time they were a fairly new network, so they didn't have a ton of production available to them directly. So a lot of stuff that was imported from Britain and you had some like dubbed anime from Japan, you had some stuff from Canada, and a lot of it was very fanciful. So I, growing up, like especially in the 80s, like if you were very, very young in the 80s, you were kind of just constantly surrounded by fantasy in pop culture, everything from like, He-Man and She-Ra to my mom is cleaning out the basement. She actually found these little wands and they have little
Glitter inside?
liquid. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
it has
turn it
glitter
upside.
inside.
Oh,
We had
And
one of those.
Mine glue in the dark. I had two, and they would glow in the dark
Oh.
if you expose them to sunlight. And I was obsessed with them. It probably does not help that my earliest memories, when my mom and dad first got married, they rented a house on a farm. There was their house, a barn, and then the other house. And the barn was filled with draft horses. So some of my earliest memories are of like giant horses. So I was basically genetically engineered to like this movie. But I didn't really see the whole movie from beginning to end until I was probably in high school. And then again in college. So when I watch it, it's interesting, Violet, that you said you kind of grew out of it, because for me, it's a nostalgia trip, even though I didn't see it when I was young, like from beginning to end. But just that general vibe and general feeling of I am suburban girl stuck in boring suburban land where everything is shaped like boxes, and my parents, say I have to be on best behavior tonight because their income tax preparer is coming for dinner, and longing to run off and go see the horses again or run around in the woods. My babysitter at that time, she was the oldest of 3 kids, so I was over at their house all the time. But one of them was really into like medieval knights and stuff like that. So we would play knights with plastic baseball bats and beat the tar out of each other. It was great. So yes, for me, Labyrinth is like, all right, for like an hour and a half, I get to be the person I always thought I was going to be when I was 6.
I love it.
You have any formative experiences you want to share with the class, B?
This is one of those films that basically, I grew up watching. It was this Legend, Dark Crystal, like anything that was 80s fantasy, more than likely I grew up with. And this is just, it's followed me into adulthood. I watch it fairly often. It's really just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. And I don't even know what else I can say about it. Really, it's just a magical, fantastic film.
Well, as one of the people who is actually officially diagnosed, how do you feel about me in my notes saying, I hereby claim Sarah Williams if she has not already been claimed for the ADHD community?
I mean, it makes so much sense.
This is not neurotypical behavior, Sarah.
No, not even close.
Were we all that insufferable as teenagers?
I think so.
Probably.
That's part of what I mean when I say, like, I've kind of grown out of it, where in the opening sequence, I was like, wow, Sarah's such a brat. And realizing, oh, well, yeah, of course, she has to be, like, it's a coming of age story. She has to grow out of her selfishness. Whereas a teen, it was like, yeah, Sarah, I agree with you. They're being mean to you. You should get to just do your fantasy bullshit.
I will concede, there were definitely times when I was whining, it's not fair, because my parents would not let me watch stuff unless my brothers were also watching the stuff, and because they outnumbered me 2-1, we were watching Cars again and again, and I'm like, it's not fair! I want to be watching my movies!
Were you an oldest or a youngest?
I am an eldest child and only femme child.
Okay. I'm in a similar situation, but I got around that because there are 9 years between me and my first brother and 16 years between me and the baby brother. So I was able to be kind of the older sibling that I always wanted when I was little, who was like, why are you watching that? Because it's fun. Like, I'll show you what real fun is. Put in like Star Wars.
Amazing.
You want to buy some death sticks?
Yeah, a reference that definitely was around when Katie was a teenager.
Don't make me tell the story about how Phantom Menace ruined my senior prom.
Oh no. Both as somebody who ruined her own junior prom to the point where she didn't go to her senior prom, and somebody who actually enjoys / defends Phantom Menace, you have my deepest apologies for that experience. I know it can't have been fun. I think that a lot of our generation had that experience with the sequel trilogy for one reason or another. And at least we still have Labyrinth?
Yeah,
yes.
we do still have Labyrinth. And speaking of child actors where it's not their fault, Jennifer Connelly, she is very young in this movie, and she had acting experience before that. I'm not sure that she was given enough direction wooden, or that I agree with all of the direction she was given, because I do feel that her performance as Sarah is kind of wooden at times, which is unfortunate given that she's one of the few human characters and you want to have a human surrounded by puppets. Like, this is not a Muppet movie, but you need your human with the Muppets to sort of anchor the story.
It probably was rather challenging for her, because I know that, when you're playing off of and I know that the people who do the Muppeteering, the people who control the Muppets, they are acting. I know that, like, when it comes to the Muppets, one of the core rules whenever they show up is, like, if you are controlling this Muppet, you are not there. Like, you are in character the entire time. But I can understand if you're younger and you don't have a ton of acting experience, it might be a little difficult, to play, because you can see the person controlling them. So I do give her credit, though, because, I don't know what her acting experience was prior to being in Labyrinth, but you think about, like, going on these huge sets, because they are very big sets, and, all this set decoration, the puppets / Muppets themselves, you're, often the only one who is, like, a human in most of the scenes in the film. I give her a lot of credit for just staying together in the presence of David Bowie. I don't know at her age if I could have done that. I think every line would have been the entire time. But I do agree, Violet. There are a few times that you're kind of watching and you're like, maybe not the best delivery, but you're handling yourself pretty well given the circumstances.
Honestly, I think that drawback is something that's due to Jim Henson's background. Because if you think about the Muppet movie, about the Muppet Show, the bulk of his filmography was working with a lot of actors who were very well established and larger than life. Like, you think about the people who would guest on the Muppet Show. You think of Rita Moreno. You think of Harry Belafonte. You think of Gene Kelly. All these people who have these big, bold personalities who are very distinct in their personas. And on the other side, you have a teenager who's still trying to figure out who the fuck she is as a person, let alone an actor.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, like, life imitating art in that, with Sarah herself being a young person coming of age and figuring out who she is. It's just, I remember even, like, as a teen and a kid wanting, like, more expression out of Sarah, and that is one of the things I still feel now, which is disappointing. There's also aspects of the film when anytime that, like, Sarah is in danger, the film almost gets very slow and takes on almost an under-rehearsed theatrical quality to it, whereas when it's puppet on puppet violence, it's a lot faster. It feels a lot more like film. So the pace of this film, I think, is the thing that it really struggles with, where at times it just feels very long, even though it's only an hour 40 minutes.
Yeah, I do feel there are definitely some moments when it's a matter of trying to coordinate the Muppet with the human. So shout out to Shari Weiser, who is doing the bodysuit work for Hoggle. Like, we all generally think of Brian Henson as the definitive part of Hoggle for the voice and the puppeteering that was involved in Hoggle, but there was an actual person who was part of Hoggle's performance, and she deserves the credit for that. But the scene at the Bog of Eternal Stench, I kind of get the feeling that they only had, like, the one take to do that, which is part of why you get a boom mic in one of the shots.
Yeah, no, the Bog of Eternal Stench, like, it goes on too long, but because you have the bog set, it feels full in a way that, like, other shots in the film feel kind of sparse. Like, anytime the sky is taking up a disproportionate amount of the screen, it just feels very empty. Whereas if you're within the labyrinth itself, or you're in the Goblin City, like, it feels more like a film set. But yeah, the theatrical comparison I made was with the fight at the gate of the Goblin City, where you have the suit of armor, and when it's, the puppet on puppet violence, it's very quick, it's very dynamic, whereas anytime that Sarah is getting involved, it's very slow and methodical, and, like, we're still figuring out the blocking for the combat. But there are some really great sequences. I love the sequence with the helping hands. Just really ingenious use of the hand puppets forming the faces. That's still really good. I also really love the Escher sequence and As the World Falls Down.
Going back slightly to the helping hands, I need to get y'all's opinion on this. Do you think Sarah got the riddle right? Because no matter how many times I watch this movie, I can never figure out if she actually got it right or not.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
My opinion is that she got it right, because she was able to continue forward to the goblin city and the castle. I think the thing is that she got it right and moved on to the next challenge, which were the helping hands. It's not that there was a pathway that would have just taken her straight there.
That part of the movie always makes me slightly angry because I can never get those riddles. I've never figured out, I know it's a logic problem, but I've never been able to figure it out. And it's just like every time I watch it, I'm just like, ugh.
My thought was that she did get it right, but every time Sarah says something to the effect of piece of cake, things immediately get harder for her. So I thought that was why it happened.
That could
It wouldn't
also be it.
surprise me. Yeah.
Girl cannot win. If she goes piece of cake, things get harder. If she says that's not fair, I wonder what your basis for comparison is.
Yeah. That's one of the few things I do disagree with this movie. Like Sarah's realization that it's not fair, but that's the way it is. Like, I feel like that's actually kind of a dangerous thing to teach children, that life isn't fair. You just have to accept that, rather than, you know, life isn't fair, so make things better. Like, it's a very like passive encouragement as opposed to, you know, take charge of your own life.
There's a Sunday morning comic strip, and God love me, I can't remember the name of it, but I will always remember this. It's two kids, and their teacher gives them like some homework assignment over the weekend, and they say, well, you know, it's going to be a great weekend. That's not fair. And the teacher goes, well, you know, life isn't fair. And the kid comes back with, no, life is arbitrary. People are fair or unfair. and I've that's stuck with me ever since.
Really good.
That is really
seems
good.
like a Calvin and Hobbes thing, but no,
It's
wouldn't be
not.
Calvin
It's
and Hobbes. Calvin isn't that articulate.
No.
Yeah. All I know is it's like it takes place in a school. There's a janitor, there's a teacher, there's like two kids. It's kind of usually kind of pastel-y sort of colors. The Calvin and Hobbes one is where his mom goes, life could be worse, Calvin. And he goes, well, it could be a lot better too.
Yeah. I think that's not fair, but that's the way it is. I think that is actually about assuming agency in the guise of becoming an adult. So like maybe it is supposed to be an indication that, yeah, adults can suck. And part of how they do that is by asserting power over teenagers and other people who are smaller than them. It's the cycle of abuse. The stepmom is mean to Sarah, so Sarah is mean to Toby and mean to Hoggle, and it's not fair, but that's the way it is because Sarah's got shit to do.
She treats me like the wicked stepmother in a fairy tale, no matter what I say.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that you have that hair, lady.
Yeah.
She was on set for 5 minutes and they had to make it work. Yeah, I guess with like the it's not fair, I guess what I am missing is the it's not fair, so da-da-da. But it does work within the context.
One of the best things about this movie is all of the fucking Easter eggs that are everywhere. And I'm trying to remember now if it's that Sarah's mom left or that she died.
It's heavily implied that she was an actress on Broadway and that she ran off with the actual David Bowie. If you look at the playbill, if you look at the playbill, you see her mom. And then if you look, I think there's like a newspaper clipping or something where Sarah's mom pictured with Bowie. So it's like very heavily implied that she ran off with the David Bowie, which I'm like, yeah, if I was married to an accountant and David feckin' Bowie showed up and was like, hey, do you want to go grab dinner? I'd be like, yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was picking up when I rewatched it. I was like, huh, that's interesting. Never caught that before. Probably because I was too young or just wasn't paying attention to it. But on this watch, I was like, oh, the mom probably ran out. Holy shit.
Yeah, and I think that's a holdover from one of the earlier drafts of the film, because this film went through a lot of script revisions and a lot of different versions of the story. Terry Jones of Monty Python, who is the only credited screenwriter, wanted it to be a different movie than what it ultimately was. He disagreed with showing the center of the labyrinth and having the musical numbers.
Which, how dare?
Yeah, and like, I kind of get what he's saying. Like, his argument was showing the center of the labyrinth removes kind of a core mystery of the premise. Like, you're going through the labyrinth and you want to get to the center. But I think the film strikes a good balance of cutting to the center and showing Sarah's journey to it. Like, it never makes it clear what the end goal is.
It also doesn't map a clear path. Like, she only got to the center because she managed to smash the magical roofy ballroom apart.
Yeah.
I love that sequence. performance. The costuming's fantastic. It's neat to see human actors portraying residents of the Goblin City, or at least in this imagination version of it. And then the transition to the sequence with the junk lady is fantastic. I love that whole sequence in her bedroom and then piling her stuff on her and turning Sarah into another junk lady before she remembers what is actually important. It's a good lesson for hoarders everywhere, myself included.
I'm not a hoarder, I'm a collector. Shut up.
My husband just likes watching me react to the ballroom scene. Also, at the end, that great speech, just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave. Every time he says that, I yell, yes! I'm like, yes, okay, good deal, let's go.
Yeah.
This better not awaken anything in me.
Yeah, and I do really like that in the movie. It's a very chaste relationship between Sarah and Jareth. He's a very good movie villain for young people and audiences to project onto and have those awakenings themselves without necessarily having it be directly reflected in the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, David Bowie's giving a fantastic performance. Jareth is a great, starter level romantasy boyfriend.
B, since you brought up Legend, David Bowie in Labyrinth or Tim Curry in Legend?
Oh, you see, those are... Oh, damn, I don't know. No, I do know. Tim Curry, Legend. There's just nothing that can come even close to that. Like, no, I'm sorry. David Bowie, yeah, but no.
Okay, wait, are we talking like as villains or as potential boyfriends? Because I'm definitely going with Jareth if it's potential boyfriends.
Fucking both. Like, both.
I don't know what that says about your taste that you're dating me and you're also looking at the Prince of Darkness. Like, hear me out.
Tim Curry's voice, I mean, I'm sorry. It's just,
Bowie has a good voice too.
Bowie has a great voice. His diction in this movie is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, his diction. Yeah. I said it.
Honestly, he kind of sounds the way the royal family sounds anytime I hear clips of them, or rather the actors playing them in The Crown or whatever.
Which makes sense. If he is ostensibly portraying a king, then he would need to have that little bit more of that received pronunciation. You're not going to get a Cockney or thick Liverpudlian accent or anything.
There's like a very specific kind of accent that the royal family curates in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So
that entire
weird.
family is weird and possibly werewolves.
Going back to the speech at the end of the film, it's a really great confrontation between the two of them. And the line that always sticks with me is, I am exhausted of living up to your expectations of me. Just everything that they have Jareth say in that final sequence is fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
What is everyone's favorite puppet in the film? Like, creature?
Ludo,
yeah.
Ludo is a friend.
I kind of like Sir Didymus, but I think that's just because I think foxes are neat.
Yeah.
I do love Sir Didymus. I love him dearly. He is a sweet little dum-dum, perfect little, bard fighter who has absolutely made intelligence his dump stat. However, I absolutely need to, have a nap cuddled up on Ludo's belly. That seems like a really nice time.
Yes.
A very Totoro kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Ludo's fantastic. Sir Didymus is when the comedy of this film really lands for me. He's a very funny character, and it's a very funny performance. I think my favorite creature is the caterpillar from the beginning. Just perfect shape, perfect voice.
Yeah, just a worm.
Can we just take a minute to acknowledge how incredible the puppetry is in this movie, including the guard at the gate that comes out of the door?
Oh.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
giant puppet. I cannot recall how tall that was, and I cannot recall how they made it do what it did, but every time I watch this movie, in addition to watching its star, I'm always struck by not only the artistic accomplishments, but also the technical accomplishments of doing all of this stuff. You have the sequence where you meet Sir Didymus in the swamp, and you have to get over the water. The person wearing the Ludo suit is not only wearing this big contraption, but now has to step on these rocks that are also wet. There's just all kinds of different things that happen throughout that movie that I will sit there and go, okay, how did they do that? Like, how did they accomplish that? It is puppetry, so, occasionally that whole kind of uncanny valley thing where sometimes you're like, the movement looks slightly unnatural, but it's still really well done. And the technical expertise of Henson and his crew is really something to behold.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to among the Battle of the Goblin City. Somewhere in there is Warwick Davis and Kenny Baker. Love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to have a lot of little people performing in the stunt capacity because that kind of puppetry is hard.
Yeah.
It just didn't occur to me because by that time, I don't want to say that they were like names. This was before Willow came out, so Warwick Davis hadn't yet like kind of had his name out there as big as like some other people might have. But you almost kind of think that they would have come and been like, look, we've been in Star Wars, okay? So like whatever you're paying everybody else, you got to pay us like at least double. I'm kind of surprised that people who
Warwick would have still been a child at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was so young.
He was only like 18 or 19 when he played Willow.
Yeah. When did Willow come out? Was that 87?
9, I think.
88. So he was 16 when Labyrinth came out, so presumably like 15, 16 when filming happened.
Okay, that makes a little bit
Honestly,
more sense then.
I would 100% believe that they are in this because Jim Henson was talking with George Lucas like, yeah, I'm gonna need a lot of little people to be in this scene to like play my goblins, and George is like, I have all the Ewoks on speed dial and I also have R2-D2. I'll go get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I am working hard to refine that George Lucas impression.
I had read a quote from Jim Henson where he talked about how he and George Lucas like kind of co-edited the film together, and Jim Henson he likes to take a lot more pauses and he likes for it to be more lyrical, whereas George Lucas is more focused on like tight action and dialogue and everything. I kind of
faster and more intense.
Yeah, faster and more intense. I kind of would have preferred if like things were tightened up a bit more. Like I think when all of the set pieces are happening, the film is great, but just there is like a lot of meandering, particularly in the first hour, that I think prevents it from reaching like its true heights. That could just be me. I like things faster paced.
Oh my god. So inevitably when I'm doing stuff like this, I always end up like looking and seeing who else was considered for the role. And in a connection to legend, Mia Sara was one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But among that are some wild names. And I'm going to pick out some of the biggest ones, but rest assured there are other ones. So Marissa Tomei.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Laura Dern.
Yep.
And Helena Bonham Carter and Jane Krakowski.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would have been completely different film.
Very different film. And I want to say for Jareth, they considered Michael Jackson, and I think Mick Jagger's name was bandied about. That would have been an altogether creepier movie. If, no shade to Jagger. I mean, there's a reason why he's a legend, but somehow, like, I think Bowie can kind of pull off that whole, like...
otherworldly.
Yeah, exactly. Where he's otherworldly and he's threatening,
too.
but he's not, like, threatening.
Yeah.
Whereas, Mick Jagger's a little bit more forward, we'll put it that way.
I mean, thank God about the Michael Jackson thing. That's twice that Michael Jackson was almost in a George Lucas thing that would have made it so uncomfortable.
Third time's the charm, Captain EO.
Yeah, there's some other names that tried out for Sarah, which is interesting. We have Tracy Gold, Molly Ringwald, and Jill Scholen. Oh, and Claudia Wells. And you could actually see these auditions as special features on I think it's the 35th anniversary Blu-ray for the film. There's 55 minutes worth of lost audition tapes, all in HD.
God, I love when media does stuff like that.
Yeah, I do have a special edition for the film, but I think it's only like the 20th. That was the DVD copy I had.
Yeah, I have the 35th anniversary 4K Blu-ray for it, but I also have the recent Shout Studios release from last year because they did a whole different transfer after Sony. So it actually looks a little bit different, a little bit better compared to the Sony one.
I might have to pick that one up.
Did y'all ever read the manga Return to Labyrinth?
I know of the manga. I've never been able to locate it.
My local library had it growing up. So I read the first couple of volumes and then it was still getting published and I lost interest. It's not good, but it's a very interesting tie-in. And it's interesting that there is such a focus on like Toby as the main character, and like Jareth, like similar to this movie, is kind of barely in it and is more just kind of like a fey trickster off in the background.
Toby is the most literal of Nepo babies ever to Nepo baby.
Yeah.
This is not a knock against Toby Froud, the actual Nepo baby, because if there is any company that produces good Nepo babies, it is the Henson family of companies. And Toby Froud has gone on to do stuff like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Good for you, Toby Froud, living your best life.
And then Brian Henson voices and puppeteers Hoggle in this. As you had said, it's Sherry Weiser in the suit, and then Brian Henson is voicing and is doing the remote control for Hoggle's face, which Hoggle is a character that is kind of there for me. The puppetry is fantastic on him. The use of the practical and also the sort of remote control aspect of it as well.
It's an incredible achievement. Hoggle as a character, I'm less sure about.
It's interesting that there's kind of a nasty undercurrent to Labyrinth, which puts it more in the Alice in Wonderland side of things, more so than Wizard of Oz. But I also think that Hoggle, much like Didymus, is meant to be a funny character, but the humor for him just doesn't land the same way that it does with Sir Didymus.
Yeah, I mean, the main joke with him is really just getting his name wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, thanks to Wicked, is now a very Wizard of Oz thing. Hoggle, handshake, Bach. Katie, maybe you could enlighten us just a little bit more on the Bowie as he was going into this movie, like how his image was changing in a way that he's like, yeah, I'll do a family film for Jim Henson where I'm kidnapping a baby.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. I actually have Spotify queued up here. Obviously, I'm not going to play any music, but I was looking at his discography earlier today and kind of charting his evolution, I guess you can say, just kind of charting like where he was in his career, because it's pretty interesting stuff, in my opinion.
He was in between albums, wasn't he?
He was in between albums, but like kind of more, I was thinking more like kind of the career arc at the time, because Bowie actually kind of started out as his first album came out in 1967. So he kind of had like this, kind of flower power, kind of hippie feel to him. And then, he didn't have a ton of commercial success until Ziggy Stardust. And he spent most of the 70s kind of inhabiting not necessarily the Ziggy Stardust character that only lasted through Aladdin Sane, but, kind of personifying this otherworldly presence, somebody who played with, gender presentation, who played with, various social mores. And, spent the 70s, he went from Ziggy Stardust to Aladdin Sane to Diamond Dogs and Young Americans. We kind of did like the Thin White Duke thing, which he actually references the return of the Thin White Duke in Station to Station, which was his album before he moved to Berlin to get away from LA and the mountains of coke that he was doing at the time. So at that time, he does the Berlin trilogy, which is critically acclaimed but kind of commercially panned. And it turns out that part of the reason that he did that trilogy, in addition to just wanting to work with Brian Eno, is that he was in a bad deal with his manager and he wanted out. And so he's like, if I make albums that are going to be really hard to find a hit single on, I'm going to get dropped. And he did. And as soon as he got dropped, he's like, all right, time to sell out. And he spent the 80s. He spent the 80s doing really good stuff. It's not that he, turned in subpar work or anything. But, by the time he's doing Labyrinth in 86, he's already done a few movies. He's established himself as an actor. And one of the things that I find interesting about that is that, we've had rock stars in movies before. Elvis had tons of movies. The Beatles also had movies. A Hard Day's Night is a riot. It's so much fun to watch. But they were in movies together. John Lennon was in a movie called How I Won the War, so kind of like a smaller part, but kind of a solo part. But a lot of times prior to Bowie getting into movies, when we saw rock stars in movies, the movie was built as a vehicle for that star to essentially to sell their next album. And so when Bowie starts to star in movies like, The Man Who Fell to Earth, it's very interesting because he's taking this very seriously. This is not just a phoned in performance of like, my record company said it would be a good idea if I showed up in this movie because I did the theme song for it, so here I am. He's doing a very good job. And it's interesting that he decided to kind of go in this more family friendly direction, because I think at that time he's he's becoming a little bit more palatable, I guess you can say. He's gone from really pushing boundaries in the 70s to having like all these singles. He's going on MTV and chastising them for not playing enough black artists. So, you know, he's
Respect.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's still, you know, at the forefront of the culture, but he's not quite an elder statesman yet, although he's kind of getting there. Especially when you look at a lot of the other artists that were popular in the 80s, a lot of them are a lot younger. But he manages to kind of, you know, retain his coolness factor. So when he does Labyrinth, there's a book at Barnes and Noble that I leafed through that I should have picked up and I didn't, and I will regret it to the end of my days. But in that book, they actually talked about how when Labyrinth came out, a lot of his hardcore fans were actually really upset, because they're like, okay, so you've gone from like Low, one of the greatest albums ever made, to like the Muppets. Really, dude? Like, how hard are you gonna sell out? Like, so what's next? David Bowie on singing ABCs on Sesame Street? What is this?
That would have been amazing.
That would have been
great.
amazing.
Yeah.
That would have been great. But yeah, I guess a lot of his fans and like a lot of critics, like when the album came out, were just like, so we're doing movies for cartoons now? Like, what's going on here? As to like his motivations for being in the film, I can't really speak to those that much. I haven't really found much information about like why he decided to be in this. I know that, you know, he has a son. So it's possible that he was like, well, you know, of course, I'm not sure how old Duncan would have been at this time, but you know, maybe he made it because he, you know, he wanted his son to you know, have something to watch, or you know, his, you know, potential grandkids. Maybe he was just really interested in some of the stuff that that Henson and Brian Froud were doing, because you know, Bowie, in addition to being a musician and an actor, also very interested in art. He did, if you watch the documentary Moon Age Daydream, which I cannot recommend that documentary enough. It's so good.
Yeah.
But you know, in there, it kind of touches upon, you know, his artwork. He painted, he did sculpture. I think I don't know if he did performance art. I know he took like dance at one point.
He did some performance art. He had studied theater and mime under Lindsay Kemp, who also worked with Kate Bush, among other musicians. So that's why he kind of
Okay.
has a very theatrical quality in his performance as a musician and also an actor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but you know, it could be that he wanted to, you know, that he was intrigued by Henson's work or Froud's work or both. It's also very possible I don't know for sure, he could have known Terry Jones. It would not surprise me. Eric Idle was very close friends with George Harrison, so like it, you know, there's
Harrison,
precedent
my
for
beloved.
that kind of there's precedent for that kind of synergy already. But yeah, it's looking at, you know, if you look at the albums that came out prior to this, you can almost kind of understand, if you were deep into Bowie, why you'd be puzzled that he'd be doing this, because the soundtrack harkens back to some of the stuff that he had been doing in like the run up, you know, like the 10-year run up to this movie. Now, you know, what I find interesting is that he, you know, he wrote the songs, like the, you know, the all the stuff that he sings, or all the, you know, songs with lyrics. Trevor Jones is the one who is doing this score. But yeah, it's, if you listen to, you know, if you listen to that soundtrack in his performances, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of Blue Eyed Soul going on within you. Like I said earlier, that is a lot more, probably more, definitely more Low than Heroes. But you get these touches here and there. And so, you know, looking back today, it's easy to kind of say, okay, this was not some side project he did. This was not some phone it in for the cash kind of thing. It wasn't even a Neil Young recording really, really bad covers of 50 songs to get out of his contract. This was something that, you know, is it his best album? Probably not, but he was definitely building upon the foundation that he had. So that's what interests me about this album is, and the film itself, is just kind of watching him go back and see what he can, you know, what he's able to pull from his past career to bring to this role, sometimes in very subtle ways. You know, Jareth has this like otherworldly quality to him. So did Ziggy Stardust. He has this kind of arrogance to him, a little bit like the Thin White Duke in the song Station to Station, the return of the Thin White Duke, throwing darts in lovers' eyes. So he's able to kind of say, okay, what have I done that I can recycle or upcycle and turn into this new part?
Yeah, I was on the Wikipedia page for Labyrinth, and there was a quote from Bowie that he had done in the lead up to promoting the film, where he talked about why he was involved in it. And he said, I'd always wanted to be involved in the music writing aspect of a movie that would appeal to children of all ages as well as everyone else. And I must say that Jim gave me a completely free hand with it. The script itself was terribly amusing without being vicious or spiteful or bloody, and it had a lot more heart in it than many other special effects movies, so I was pretty hooked from the beginning. So I can see why he would have wanted to, do the music and do sort of be involved to some extent in the scoring of a film and then starring in it at the point that he was at in his career. I can see why this would have appealed to him. Going back to the Thin White Duke real quick, it's interesting with what you had said, Katie, about how a lot of musicians at the time were like basically kind of playing themselves in films. You look at David Bowie with his first like starring role in a film with The Man Who Fell to Earth, which turned into sort of the template and the costuming and the vibes for the Thin White Duke. So Bowie was taking a role that he had played and turning it into his public persona. And so having that influence his music and his art there as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, he's such a chameleon. And I
Yeah.
love, that one of the things that I love about him just as an artist in general is his willingness to, again, like look at stuff that he's done and seek outside influences. Like in the 90s, he was all about the internet.
Yeah.
And looking at, how is technology going to change the music business? How is it going to change music writing? How is it going to change the way that consumers encounter music? And he was very ahead of his time in that regard. I could go on all day, but I don't want to make this like the David Bowie show.
It kind of has to be the David Bowie show sometimes when you're talking about a David Bowie vehicle. Like Labyrinth.
He's undeniably the most memorable part of this. Like,
yeah.
Just the charisma he's exuding, the songs, the performance that he's giving. It's hard to watch this movie and not come away thinking about him.
He's got the same charisma in this movie that I kind of get a little bit when I watch concert footage of Led Zeppelin and I see Robert Plant up on stage. Because Robert Plant, he exudes this charisma. And he's not like a big flashy, like Led Zeppelin was never Kiss. There was never big pyrotechnics and big, crazy outfits or anything like that. But there is something about Plant. It's this indefinable essence. And I don't know what it is. For those playing at home, I had a very brief stint as a music journalist, doing some freelance, doing some work for All Music Guide. And so I kind of got a little bit used to like talking with artists. I never really had a chance to interview really, really big names or anything like that. But you get kind of used to putting aside any feelings that you might have about the artist in order to, do whatever you need to do. Do your interview, what have you. But there are certain artists that you're not sure you can do that with. And when I say that Bowie has the same charisma as Plant, it's this thing where you are fully aware that this is a performance. You are fully aware that this person does not know who you are, does not care about you, not in a harsh, cruel way, but just in a way of like, he does not, this person does not know you. They don't know your name. They don't know your story. You're just another fan to them. And yet when they look at you, when there's certain gestures that they do on stage, you suddenly find yourself slipping under their spell. And there are points where you realize, if he said, come up on stage right now, you'd do it. And Bowie he's always kind of had that quality. I saw him in concert exactly one time. But yeah, there's this very strange thing. He's in an arena, and yet it feels like he is talking to you personally. And somehow he is able to bring that to Labyrinth in a certain way. Not necessarily from like the audience, like, feeling that kind of that pull, but that sense of if he turned to the camera and broke the fourth wall, you would probably find yourself in a similar position to Sarah, where you are fighting to not just say, you know what, good deal, let's go.
David Bowie is one of those performers where it's about the music just as much as it is about the performance. He can do both sides of it in a really compelling way. I did go to the David Bowie Is exhibit when I came through Chicago, which was absolutely incredible. Archival costumes and videos and just a sort of travel through his career as an artist. And the thing that really struck me is that they had examples of when he was designing his own lighting when he was going on tour. So he was an artist that really thought about all aspects of performance rather than just the music, which is incredible, but he was also a performer, and I think that's something that can get lost if you're not actually watching him perform. But Labyrinth is one of those performances that has stood the test of time, even if other aspects of the film are a bit dated, don't hold up.
Yeah, he was never an artist to phone it in, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't matter what medium he was working in. He was never like, I'll put out 5 songs and be done with it. Everything had to be, he was very meticulous.
Is there any part of the film that you feel is dated outside the visual effects? Because when I think of this film, in general, it feels very timeless until you see the occasional visual effect, like, oh dear, that green screen.
For me, it's actually before she goes into the labyrinth, and I know that's kind of a no-duh sort of moment, but I'm always struck whenever I watch this movie. When she goes in the house, I'm like, oh my god, I remember PTO moms who looked just like this stepmom. I remember those shoulder pads. Oh yeah, Laura Ashley. Oh, this is a Laura Ashley house, isn't it? But, to your point, Sam, when you go into the labyrinth, it does have a timeless quality to it. And I'm always kind of struck by, there's almost like a dreamlike quality to it. I don't know if it's the camera. I don't know if it's the print. I do not have these version of the film that Shot Factory did where they kind of clean things up. So I have the DVD. It's not a VHS. So it's not a tape quality issue. But it almost looks very, very slightly hazy almost, like you're watching a dream. So the whole sequence in the labyrinth itself does have this very timeless feel to it. But even then, there's little touches, and I can't name every single artist, obviously Brian Froud, but there are elements of it that you look at it and you're like, that looks like it came from an illustration in a children's book. That shot of the labyrinth looks like a Chris Conover illustration, for example. She was a children's book author and artist, and the only reason I know about her is because she came to our school. So there's different elements to it that if you were around in the 80s, you might go, yeah, I can kind of see a little bit of the influences there. But overall, as long as they are in the Goblin Kingdom, I don't know where the labyrinth is. It's never established. It's never, the labyrinth in the kingdom of this and that. But yeah, there's a certain timeless quality to it until you're back in the real world. And you're like, oh, that is my best friend's dad's house.
Yeah, I guess for me, when I talk about aspects of the film not holding up, it's for me when I am approaching it as, a 32-year-old adult looking back at it. And so I do think that the coming of age nature of it does still hold up. The core of the story of Labyrinth does hold up. But for me, it's revisiting the film that was important to me when I was a teenager, realizing that, some of the performances don't hold up. I think the pacing for me, I wish it was quicker. I wish some aspects of it felt grander. And that's because when I think back to how I remembered watching it as a kid, it felt so big and grand. And so it's looking at it as an adult without the rose-tinted glasses, experiencing things for the first time. And so that's when I had said earlier that it's exciting to me that the movie doesn't feel like it's for me anymore, because it does feel like this is a children's film at its core. And I think it's important that other kids who are watching it, whether children under the age of 10 or teenagers or 20-somethings, whatever, getting to experience it fresh for the first time and have their own experiences with it.
I have a 2-year-old niece, and I'm very much looking forward to introducing her to this film when the time comes. For her second birthday, we got her a castle playset that really we wanted to keep for ourselves, but little small stuff.
Yeah.
And we got her. We weren't sure if she was going to like it, because sometimes kids get kind of weird about stuff on their heads. But it's a unicorn costume, but it's like a cape, and the hood has a unicorn head on top. So the unicorn head sits on top.
Cute.
And so she opened it up, and we're like, "Do you want to put it on?" And she goes, "Yes." And so we put it on her. And she was really excited. And I go, "Do you like it?" And she looks at me and she goes, "I'm a unicorn," and ran away. So,
oh, it's so cute.
Good. You're one of us, aren't you?
Oh, baby girl, we gotta keep you away from Akatar or something. I don't know. What's the fantasy everybody hates now?
Light Lark is the big one.
I haven't even heard of that, so I guess the hate is working. Does anybody have any further thoughts?
No, I don't.
They've been trying to make a sequel since Bowie passed.
Yeah.
And I think it could work.
I don't know. I feel like with something like Labyrinth especially, I'm so worried about trying to recapture that magic, because Labyrinth is one of those things where part of its charm comes from existing in the moment when it was created, And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, nowadays, I don't know that Lucasfilm or anyone else would go into the level of practicality and innovation. Like, the idea of any kind of AI touching Labyrinth is now haunting the core of my soul. Knock on wood that it will never happen. But if maybe the people who worked on the Willow TV series got in on Labyrinth, I might feel a little more comfortable about it, because they really went in on practical effects and showing this affection for the original. And oh god, I'm missing Willow now. I'm sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought.
No, you're good.
That's not the intention of this podcast. And while we do unfortunately get into speculation and fanfiction prospects a lot of the time, we're not going to do that today, because we do not have 13 hours.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Such
Even
a
if we're-
pity.
Even if we're using magic, like, Sarah still spent at least 4 hours in there before Jareth sped up the clock on her.
Yeah.
So, given everything, I don't think I need to ask, but is the Force with it?
I think so.
I think it's definitely with it. I will forever be sad that we never get to see David Bowie as a Jedi Master. I think he would have killed it, especially because he came dangerously close to becoming a Buddhist monk. We could have had Buddhist monk David Bowie, but his master was like, "Hey, I know that you really like this Buddhism thing, but I think you like music more. So maybe consider the music career." Just like I'm sad that we never got to see David Bowie as Elrond, because that also would have been very cool.
That would have been fire. Oh man, that would have been so dope.
The Force is with it, much like how Katie is upset we never got to see David Bowie as Elrond. I'm upset we didn't get to see Jarvis Cocker as Jack Ferry in the Velvet Goldmine movie, which is presumably on the docket for this podcast at some point because Ewan McGregor's in it.
Degree 2, we will see when it comes up on there, probably when Ellie has a fixin' for Todd Haynes.
It's one of my favorite movies. I will fight. I will look at you with the saddest, wettest eyes to be on that episode.
Unfortunately, that works better than you might think. Who has pluggables?
There's this science fantasy series that I read called The Sun Eater. I discovered it last year, and it is mind-blowing. This guy, he calls himself a student of Tolkien, and you can tell, but he's a Catholic writer, so there's a little bit of Catholicism mixed in like a very good way. And if you're into space Romans, there's a little bit of that, the Society, which is pretty cool. It is the best science fiction and fantasy together. Like how he describes it, it is high fantasy that just happens to be set in space.
I can't think of anything more Star Wars than that.
You can find me on Blue Sky and Tumblr at Momentary Horrors. And you can also find my tabletop role-playing game supplements on itch.io. That's violet-floor.itch.io, violet-flohr.
Like the Blue Sky bio says, I do nothing of interest or import, but my husband makes games over on Third Country Press. Sometimes those games are his very own creations. Sometimes they come from me going, wouldn't it be funny if... ... So you can find those over at third, THIRD-country-press at itch.io.
Katie, I must remind you, you are incredibly cool. You do a lot of cool stuff, and I'm very glad that you are my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Now, Katie, if I'm curious, where can I find that Blue Sky bio of yours where you do nothing of note?
It's kduffy1718.bsky.social.
And in the spirit of Star Wars, to be there for the people who need us, this episode's Mutual Fund Spotlight goes to Desert Bus for Hope, the long-running gaming stream/fundraiser that donates its proceeds to Child's Play, an organization dedicated to providing toys and games to children undergoing treatment in over 180 hospitals worldwide, as well as domestic violence support facilities. The link can be found in the description, as well as on my various socials at Demisem. Our theme music is provided by Refractory Period, the two girls, one beat synth pop sensation. You can follow them on Instagram at Refractory Period, the band. To further support this podcast, please subscribe to us on your platform of choice, leave reviews, and share with your friends to boost our visibility, and consider joining our Patreon. And now, it's time to turn to the Chance Cube to see where our journey takes us next.
Four.
Which means that for our Native Heritage Month episode, we are going to be watching How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Ooh. Love it.
Okay.
Very nice.
We'll see you all next time. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, stay beautiful, and may the Force be with you.